The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your super chats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
Aaron Rodgers says he wants to play in 2025, and the Jets' struggles won't affect those plans. We'll talk about the significance of Rodgers' comments and what it means for the Jets' future. Nick Faria, Jets beat reporter, joins us in his weekly spot. It's the Jake Asman Show. Let's hit it and get it started. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super chat, baby. Cut the line. Now it's time to talk all things New York Jets. It's the Jake Asman Show. Here we go, Jet fans. Welcome in, everybody. Click that like button, and if you haven't subscribed it to the channel, please do so. Thank you to everyone who continues to watch each and every day, despite the fact our football team ain't any good, but our starting quarterback wants to come back in 2025. More on that in a moment, but a reminder, if you don't already know, this show is available in audio form, both on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Just search the Jake Asman Show wherever you get your podcast, and you could take the YouTube show you watch live every day and listen to it as an audio podcast wherever you get your podcast. Joining us right now in his weekly spot on the show is Jets beat reporter for Athlon Sports, Nick Faria. Nick, good morning. Thanks for coming on, man.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me, man.
So we'll get right into what Rodgers said yesterday. I pulled the cut from the locker room. This was Aaron Rodgers being asked about his future with the Jets.
You talked about wanting to play beyond this year.
Yeah.
Has the way this season gone for you or as a team changed that thought at all?
Not really. Not for the negative. No, not really. How
Do
do
you
you
still
feel?
want to play in 2025?
I think so, yeah.
He wants to play in 2025. I'm a little surprised Rodgers said it already, but it's not like he definitively said no matter what he's playing. He says he still plans to play, but there's still 7 games left in the year. So I guess my initial reaction, Nick, was great, he wants to play, but that doesn't mean he's definitely playing for the Jets next year. That doesn't mean he's definitely playing next year. There's still a lot of football, as crazy as that sounds, left in this year that could change a lot, good or bad, for his future.
Well, if, he sustains a big hit or he gets, bumped around a lot in these upcoming games, that could certainly change his plans, change his projection. And there's no guarantee that the Jets say, hey, you know what, we're going to bring you back either. Most likely you expect that New York is going to be in the quarterback market in the 2025 NFL draft, or at least punt that question to 2026. So along with who's going to be the head coach, who's going to be the general manager, who's going to be the owner, there are a ton of questions that the Jets are going to have to answer this offseason. It's just another add to that list here with Rodgers saying he wants to come back.
Is it a good thing if he comes back in 2025? How do you view Aaron Rodgers at this stage of his career playing again next year with the Jets?
So I will say this, and it may be an unpopular opinion, but I think he's still the best option of the quarterbacks that are going to be available. The rookie class this year is not as talented as the 2024 one. People are talking about the 2024 being a historical class to begin with. So you're not going to have a plug-and-play guy in this draft. You're going to have to sit him. And who better to have a rookie learn from than a future Hall of Famer, 4-time NFL MVP like Aaron Rodgers? So to me, if the Jets want to continue to compete and they want to try to compete next year, you want to be able to have a quarterback that you can trust at whatever percent healthy he is. I mean, Rodgers had a down year. He's had a pretty poor year compared to his standards. But there are other reasons why this Jets team has failed this season outside of the quarterback. Coaching being a huge one. General manager being a huge one. So if the Jets are able to upgrade at those spots, would they be in a better position with Aaron Rodgers leading the charge? I think that's possibly something to look into. So they should be willing. I put an article out on Athlon Sports this morning. I think the Jets should be willing to bring Rodgers back if he wants to come back this season, because the options around him, out after him, aren't that much better.
Right. Let's say the Jets are like, well, we want to move on what would the plan be then? Because you're right. This is a team that next year will likely have a new general manager, new head coach. Like, what's the plan at quarterback if it doesn't include Aaron Rodgers? I mean, Jordan Travis was drafted a year ago, 5th-round pick. Tyrod Taylor was signed technically to a 2-year deal, so he is under contract for next year if they want him. What would be the plan at quarterback if, say, Rodgers changes his mind, he retires, or the Jets are just like, look, we're just going to cut you, spread out your cap hit over 2 years, we're moving forward with a new regime?
I mean, again, that could happen. The Jets might just want to clean their hands of this entire situation, this nightmare, and say, we're going to start fresh. By that accord, I would say Tyrod Taylor may be the starting quarterback next season. Maybe they go into free agency on a bridge deal with another signal caller. There are different options the team can go down to see if they can have a bridge guy that they're not going to pay $25 million for in terms of Aaron Rodgers. That's his cap hit for 2025. So I look at where the Jets are. Again, maybe they try to cut ties with him completely. But is that really the best chance for them to win? Is that the best chance for them to stay competitive in the NFL this season? I don't see it that way. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, you look at like their options. To me, if you're bringing Rodgers back, you have to draft a quarterback, and that guy has to be groomed and be ready to go the following year post Rodgers. And also, if I'm bringing Rodgers back, I'm doing everything in my power to hire a legitimate coaching staff that's going to run a modern offense. And if Aaron's not on board with that, then he can't be the quarterback next year. You're no longer making all your moves all in for Aaron. You're making moves in the best interest of the team. And if Rodgers wants to be here as the bridge quarterback, he can still be the quarterback. But you know what I mean? It's no longer about like you're all in to win with Aaron Rodgers. It's, hey, you're the quarterback because we can't upgrade. You're under contract. Your cap it's only $23 million, which is manageable. And we're just going to play it out with you with our plan behind you already in place. That's how I would look at it if Rodgers is here at this stage of his career for another season.
I completely agree. And we also have to remember something else. The relationship with Rodgers and Mike McCarthy for a very long time was very strong. It sort of deteriorated at the end. But when LaFleur came in, there were problems. There were communication problems between the Packers head coach and the future Hall of Famer. So to me, if you're the Jets and you're looking for a head coach, I completely agree. I am looking for a young, energetic, offensive-minded play caller. I'm not looking for a defensive guy. I'm not looking for someone who's going to give up play calling right away. I am looking for someone who can build an offense and develop a quarterback. That is the mantra of how to succeed in the NFL nowadays. So yeah, I look at it. Maybe you find the next, Matt LaFleur, whatever it is. Certainly a possibility because there are a lot of great young offensive minds in the NFL that are coming up. I look at Bobby Slowick being one of them. I continue to have his name high on this list with the job he's done with C.J. Stroud. There are plenty of others as well. And I do agree. If you are in the Aaron Rodgers returning plan, there is no other option but to draft a quarterback in the first round in 2025. Whether it's Shedeur Sanders, whether it's Cam Ward, whether it's Quinn Ewers, it does not matter. You must draft a quarterback in the first round and allow him to sit with that fifth-year option. You allow him to sit his first year, have Aaron Rodgers teach him everything, try to compete and try to win with that new coaching staff, and then turn around and give the keys to the young rookie. That is the only way to me that this can really, really work and work well, because you look at past Jets history, they have done a very poor job of developing young quarterbacks. They throw them out into the fire, demand that he turn the franchise around, and when they don't, everyone's surprised that, oh, why didn't this guy work out? Why didn't this guy work out? Because you didn't put him in the best possible situation to develop. The best way to do that is to sit him. Let him learn the game early on. It's worked for Patrick Mahomes. It worked for Lamar Jackson. It worked for Jalen Hurts. It worked for a lot of great quarterbacks in NFL history. The Jets need to be able to go down that route because it's really the only consistent one that develops winners like this.
I just wonder how big these next 7 games will be in deciding a lot because, let's say the Jets go out there and Rodgers looks okay down the stretch. They finish 4-3 over their next 7, so they're 7-10. How would you view the Jets' job compared to some of the other jobs out there if you're a coach. Because on one hand, you could say, well, you do have a lot of talent, more talent than some of the openings. You would essentially maybe get a year of Aaron Rodgers to try and win while also getting to pick your quarterback of the future after that. Could you sell that being an attractive job versus some of the other jobs that are out there?
First off, you absolutely can, because the only other open job right now is the New Orleans Saints, and I don't care who is talking. The Jets job is far more attractive than the Saints job, because the Saints are in cap hell for the next few years. I mean, it's just an albatross sitting there in New Orleans. It's an ugly, ugly job. They don't have a lot of talent. The Jets do. They've got some young talent. They've got a lot of young players that are developing at a high rate. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Sauce Gardner, Will McDonald, Quincy Williams, Quinnen Williams. I mean, a lot of guys are still just entering their prime, and that's enticing for a head coach. The question will be, what does ownership do? Now, there are overbearing owners in the NFL everywhere. Every owner, just because you don't see them a lot, doesn't mean they're not overbearing. And there are some fans that I have seen from yesterday that are worried that Woody Johnson, Christopher Johnson, the Johnson family will try to have complete control over this hire and essentially tell the head coach, you do what I tell you to do, and you just fall in line. I don't think that's going to be a concern. There are a lot of coaches in the NFL who deal with overbearing owners, and it's not necessarily overbearing, but it's having a conversation, developing a relationship of just communication and understanding, okay, this is the move we're going down. This is why we're going to make this move. Let's all get on board with this. That's not uncommon in the NFL, so I don't think it's really going to hurt the Jets in the long run. So add everything together, I still think this is a very attractive job. They're going to have close to $50-60 million in cap space. They will be able to be flexible in free agency. They've got a lot of young talent, and they're probably going to have a high pick again for another year. So there are plenty of reasons why top coaches are going to want to come to the Jets. Remember, they were able to get Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas, and at the time, they were the top guys in the field that were looking for head coaching and top general manager positions. It's really hard for me to see that now this job is worse than it was before.
Comments, questions, super chats, cut the line. We're talking with Jets beat reporter Nick Faria in his weekly spot. We're presented today by Huga House. They have 6 brand new hats that are out, including the hat I'm wearing right now. If you want one of the brand new hats from Huga House, use promo code Asman at checkout. You'll save 15% off. Get the hat. Our quarterback in 2025, ? Wears all the time. HugaHouse.com. Promo code Asman at checkout. You'll save 15%. By the way, you buy one hat. They have a special right now. Second hat is 30% off. So get 2 hats extremely discounted by going to HugaHouse.com and use promo code Asman at checkout. Let's bring Nick back up on the screen. The other storyline, Nick, when it comes to this Jets team here down the stretch is what version of the Jets are we going to see these next 7 games here, right? Because to me, there's a big difference in this team finishing with 5 or 6 wins versus a 5-2 stretch here, and they're 8-9 at the end of the season, and you're lamenting the fact they blew all these games. I mean, at this stage, what version of the Jets do you expect to see during these 7 final games?
Have they given us any indication that they can play at a high level consistently? I'm sorry, I haven't seen it. And until I do, this just seems to be a team that is ultra talented, but not good enough to turn it all together and play together as an overall team. And that's the big thing. Play as a team. They haven't shown it. They haven't done it. And until they do, I don't see them going on a run here, finishing the season at 8-9 or whatever. I will say that might be the worst thing that could possibly happen. If the Jets go 5-2 down the stretch and everyone's emboldened and says, okay, we got something going here. We're cooking. We're communicating better. We can take this and move this into next season. And Jeff Ulbrich is going to be the full-time head coach. I think that would be a mistake. Very clearly, this is just Robert Saleh kind of cloned in that sense. Jeff Ulbrich's trying to keep the house together, trying to keep the locker room together. I understand that. But the changes that have been made aren't working. And he is saying the same things that Robert Saleh was saying while the team is struggling. We got to hold people accountable. We have to do better. The coaching has to be better, yada, yada, yada. You need fresh ideas here. Jeff Ulbrich is not a fresh idea at this point. You need an offensive-minded guy, like I said. Regardless of what happens at the end of the season, the Jets truly need a revamped coaching staff, and I would argue now potentially a new GM as well. I know Joe Douglas did a lot of good. There's a lot of young talent on this team, but you combine it all together, and it's just not good enough. So I think you're going to need a new general manager as well to be in lockstep with this new head coach.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, even if they finish 8-9, I don't think Ulbrich should be here. I think the only scenario he's back is if this team makes the playoffs, and I don't see that happening. They're 3-7, so they're gonna have a new head coach. I guess my question to you would be, if you were projecting some of the top options that you think would make sense for the Jets, who is at the top of the Nick Faria wish list?
So Ben Johnson's the obvious one. I think you ask anyone on here, it's Ben Johnson. I continue to talk to Play Like a Jet, Scott Mason. He is pounding the table for Todd Monken, and I don't disagree with that. I like Slowick a lot. The other underrated guy, and you have to understand, my background with the Eagles tells me that the best coaches are sometimes not always the top guy in the coaching cycle. You look at Andy Reid when he was signed in Philadelphia in, 1999. He was not a popular pick, nor was Nick Sirianni, nor was Doug Peterson. Both Sirianni and Doug Peterson were called the worst head coaching hires of those cycles, and it ended up working out for Philadelphia. They've been very successful. 6 of the last 7 seasons they've been to the playoffs. They know how to find young talent in the coaching staffs. To me, I look at a guy like Brian Johnson, the offensive assistant for the Washington Commanders. He had a bad year in Philadelphia last year as the play caller, but he knows how to do it, and the only reason that team struggled is because Nick Sirianni was too hands-on. The minute he takes his hands off, all of a sudden the offense is looking a lot better. They're running the ball more, that kind of thing. So I look at Brian Johnson as the kind of underrated guy to look at and say, listen, he knows how to work with quarterbacks. He's developed some really, really good ones over the years. He knows how to work with offenses. He's a strong guy in terms of a leadership perspective, and he's young and has fresh ideas for his offense. This is the kind of guy you're looking for overall. If the Jets are serious about getting an offensive guy in, if they want to go with an underrated signing, Brian Johnson is the one for me.
It's an interesting one there. I think to me, though, Nick, they need someone who's done it before at this stage of where the Jets are at. Someone that's been a head coach before. If you can't get Ben Johnson, who I think most people will agree is the top option among, the coordinators that are potentially available, to me, you got to bring in someone that's not learning on the job in the biggest media market in the world. I'm looking at Mike Vrabel. I'm looking at Kevin Stefanski if Cleveland fires him. I'm looking at guys who have done it before. Brian Flores is another name that I think should be brought up. Like I need someone with experience because I'm so tired of these guys coming in, not understanding how to do it, making mistakes because they're new at the job. I just think you have to hire someone with experience. The one time they tried doing that was Adam Gase, and that never should have happened in the first place. So hire a legitimate coach with experience this time around would be my preference.
But here's why I would argue against it. Okay, let's say they hire Vrabel, Flores, one of these guys. I don't think Stefanski's going to get fired, at least not right now. It's been a rough year in Cleveland, but personally, I think there's a chance that they just say, hey, we're going to stick with our head coach. We'll go here. And again, if he gets fired, this changes everything. You go after Stefanski. He's got a great offense. He just has the wrong quarterback. I'll preface that right now by saying that. But if you get Vrabel, if you get Flores, you have to hire a strong offensive coordinator. Well, if you hire a strong offensive coordinator and he fixes the offense and you draft a quarterback to develop, now he's going to get a head coaching job. So now you're out an offensive coordinator. You got to figure out someone to do that job again. And now you're putting this young rookie quarterback in with a brand new play caller and a brand new playbook. So continuity and consistency is going to be key in development of young players. It's why Patrick Mahomes was so talented. He had the same play caller for his first 5 years. It was incredible. No one wanted to poach the Chiefs, the passing guys. So I look at where the Jets need to be, and we can talk about veteran or young guy all the live long day. Again, like I said, my experiences with my team show that the inexperienced guys tend to work out really, really well. But you need an offensive guy. It needs to be an offensive-minded person because you need the same playbook, the same continuity, that same development over and over and over again. If Stefanski becomes available, that changes the equation. But outside of him, I don't see anyone right now that's a veteran guy that you can trust to say, hey, we want you to run our football team right now. Cliff Kingsbury, Absolutely not. Those kinds of things. He's done great in Washington, but I don't see him as a plausible head coach for the Jets.
Well, the pushback on what you're saying is, and people in the chat are all over it, is you can't worry about hiring a particular coach because that coach might leave after success in regards to their OC. You know, like I just you gotta straighten out the culture of this organization, which despite having talent is horrific. And that's how you could be 3-7 despite having more talent than so many of these teams you've lost. And the proof is in the pudding. They've been a favorite in so many of these games they've lost.
Listen, and we're talking, and really, this is a great discussion because it goes down to football philosophy. Do you want your team to be a offensive-minded unit or just a well-run machine where you can interchange coaches left and right? The people that can interchange coaches left and right and they stay successful, those exist. You look at the Chiefs, you look at the Steelers, all these things. It's feather in the caps of their coaching staffs. But you also have these other examples where, listen, if you hire an offensive-minded guy, a young and inexperienced guy like the Shanahans, like the McVays, you don't have to worry about a new play caller every 2 years. And that matters. That lack of continuity matters in the National Football League because you have to change playbooks left and right. And that's just not helpful for any young player, not just the quarterback. So when I look at it, yes, you do have to worry about the OCs because if you're hiring a veteran defensive guy, that is going to be something that is going to be affecting you time and time and time again. And if you pick the wrong guy once, now everything falls behind you.
Yeah, I just think, like, when you're as bad as the Jets have been, like, you can't worry about losing an OC 2 years down the line. Like, Mike Vrabel has hired 2 offensive coordinators that then became head coaches. Like, I would trust him to hire the right staff. He hired LaFleur, became a head coach. He hired Arthur Smith, became a head coach. So I just think if, like, Vrabel's your guy, yeah, he might be defensive-minded, but I look at him as, like, a CEO type, and I think that's what this team needs right now.
To me, the CEO stuff only works if you have complete and total. I'm trying to find the right words to describe this. And again, Vrabel is probably the hot name that everyone wants. But
would he not be the best available coach as far as a guy with a resume?
Well, with the guy with a resume, you're probably looking at Belichick, if that's the case. But Belichick's not coming in. And
nor would I want him at 73 years old, plus his hatred of the Jets and his record without Brady speaks for itself.
Right. And you look at the last couple of years in Tennessee, he wasn't in lockstep with the GM, and that caused problems in the organization. There were issues with Vrabel at the end of his tenure with the Titans. All that stuff comes into consideration. I just look at what this team needs, and they need to develop a quarterback. You need to get the quarterback right. And you haven't been able to do it for 20 years. And it's the reason why you've been this bad for 14 years. The only way you can get this quarterback right is if you get a guy that knows how to work with him. And if you're going to hire Vrabel, yeah, he does a great job getting his team ready. All that great stuff. Does he know how to develop a quarterback? No, that's not his MO. And if you're going to win a championship, if you don't have the quarterback, you're not winning a championship. It's just the reality of the situation in the NFL nowadays. And that's why I feel, regardless of veteran, young guy, whatever it is, you need someone who can run the offense by himself without needing an OC, a completely different independent person to come in and help him out. The offense, to me, is the first thing that needs to be fixed right away. I would even argue even before culture, because the offense gets working, this defense is good enough to be successful. The problem is you haven't had both work together at the same time.
Hit the like button if you're tuning in. We're talking with Nick Faria on his weekly spot. 25 starts us off with a super chat. Rodgers to the Vikings. He will complete the cycle.
I don't see it happening, especially after J.J. McCarthy was drafted. But you never know. You never know.
And then Sam Darnold comes back as the bridge quarterback for the Jets.
Oh, good God.
Unreal.
That training camp here would be incredible.
Alan says Todd Monken hasn't forgotten getting passed over by Gase. See, this to me is a complete fabrication by Alan coming up with nonsense here. Todd Monken, if given an opportunity to interview for one of 32 jobs in the league, would not only interview for the Jet job, but if he was offered it, he very well might take it because it's an opportunity to be a head coach. Yeah, okay. He got passed over years ago during 2 previous hiring cycles. We really think Todd Monken wouldn't take a head coaching job if he's offered it by the Jets? Come on now.
Yeah, I disagree with this completely. If Monken's going to actually get offered, I'm sure he'll take it. And I will say, he's a little bit older. He's not that youthful enthusiasm that I look for in young coaches. But he wins, and he knows how to develop. He's the exact guy that I'm describing. Knows how to change offenses to work with the personnel he has. Knows how to develop quarterbacks. And he knows how to win. That would make a lot of sense.
Comments, questions, super chats. We got a lot of stupidity in the chat today. I mean, Francisco says, LOL, no head coach is coming here. Then stop watching the show, Francisco. If you already decided that the Jets are not going to be able to hire any head coach, find the new show. Because I can promise you, they will be able to hire a qualified candidate in the offseason. It's still 1 of 32. And we went through this yesterday. Look at some of the jobs that are going to open and tell me how many of these other jobs are that much better than the Jet job. I mean, seriously, all these jobs, they have pros and cons. There's a reason why they're available in the first place.
Listen, you cannot tell me that this job is not attractive compared to the Saints job. That is going to be a shit show. There are people saying that you could get a Lovie Smith, Dave McCauley kind of situation where you bring in a head coach to essentially allow him to run the table that first year and just take all the lumps and all the losing, and then you hire the competent one moving forward. That's how bad it is right now in New Orleans. You cannot compare this Jets job and say it's worse than New Orleans. I'm sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with Nick Faria. Comments, questions, super chats. They always cut the line. Let's see. This comment is from John, who says, cap implications of bringing Rodgers back are brutal. It's a wrap. Stick a fork in it. You could argue it's worse if they cut him.
Yeah.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers, I looked up the specifics of his contract next year. His cap hits $23 million. So if you cut Rodgers before June 1, it's a $49 million dead money charge. It'd be $14 million after June 1, and then $35 million in 2026. So to me, if you look at where the Jets are at and their strategy is, we're going to give a coach an opportunity to try and win with Rodgers in year 1, but we're also drafting a quarterback. I think that, to me, is the most logical option at this point, because look at some of the other free agent quarterbacks. You're going to need to bring in a veteran regardless. Like, if Aaron's already under contract and he's only a $23 million cap hit, which is very manageable because of the pay cut he took 2 seasons ago, you might as well, to me, still have him here while drafting a quarterback behind him and run a modern offense. And if Aaron's not on board with that, then he won't be here. But I think he would be, because he understands the implications of this season going as poorly as it is.
And he doesn't want to go out this way. Him saying, my plan is to come back for 2025, that's telling you, I don't want to go out like this, like a loser like this. I want to win. I want to help the Jets win. So it makes all the sense in the world for the Jets to retain him. There's no better option right now in free agency. There's no better option in the draft for you starting week 1 next season than Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, there's just not a lot of great options in free agency. Like, Sam Darnold's the top free agent quarterback option.
If Dak was there, you can make that argument. Throw the money at Dak, whatever. He's not, though. That's the thing. So it's you go with the best available guy, and the best available guy absolutely is Rodgers.
And I know Rodgers has not been great this year, but like there's been several games where he has done his job, and it's the team around him that has failed.
Listen, Rodgers has he deserves some blame. He hasn't been perfect this season. I would argue that personally, he's been maybe average compared to what we have seen from him in his NFL career. And average clearly is not good enough with this team, but the defensive line has gotten torched against the run. They can't tackle. They can't block at times. Your special teams has collapsed in games. They've lost 4 one-score games to this point. If 3 of them change, we're looking at a completely different roster. They're 6-4. So I look at where the Jets are. They're not that far off from winning a bunch of games. The problem is this team has no idea how to win, and the coaching staff is very, very poor. They're not doing what needs to be done to win. And again, new coaching staff, a nice high draft pick for a quarterback. I think you can turn this page and build something beautiful here.
Building something beautiful, something not often said about the New York Jets. 25 with a super chat for us. The New York market is sellable by itself, in my opinion. Plus, the coach and GM that turned the ship around will be treated like kings by the fans. The pitch is really, one, you'll be paid handsomely, which is obvious. Two, like, you get a year of Rodgers plus talent that is on this team that's under contract. Like, let's not act like this is an expansion level team. Like the Jets, Nick, I've used the comp that they're kind of like last year's Chargers with Brandon Staley. Like, with a better coach, I could easily see the record being flipped right now. Like the Chargers, to me, you look at their roster this year, it's not great, but they're well coached. You look at the Steelers, coaching matters, man. Top to bottom, Dan Quinn with the Commanders, they were picking second overall a year ago. Now they have a legitimate chance to win the division and have a star young quarterback that they hit on. So, like, to me, you could turn it around, but it always comes down to the people you hire. And you inherit a team that has a number one wide receiver in Garrett Wilson, has an elite running back in Breece Hall, likely has 4/5 of your offensive line already in place next year. Defensively, you still have Quinn Williams. You have Jermaine coming back. Will McDonald's a Pro Bowler. Quincy's a Pro Bowl linebacker. Sauce is a Pro Bowl corner. There's still talent on this team. It's not like this team is an expansion level team like they were in 2021 when Saleh was hired to oversee a rebuild.
I will say, and I had this history lesson last week, but when Vince Lombardi, before he signed on with the Green Bay Packers in 59, the team in 58 was one of the worst in NFL history. They were 1-10-1. And most of the players there were part of that championship team, became Hall of Famers. Bart Starr, Jim Taylor, Forrest Gray, Ray Nitschke. You had all this top talent, but they had no idea how to win. They were 1-10-1. The next year, 7-5-1, and then they went to the NFL championship in 1960. Sometimes all you need is the right coach, and everything changes. And that's where I look at where the Jets right now. They've got a lot of talent, and a lot of young talent, too. It's not like these guys are 30 years old. Sauce Gardner's 24. This team can turn it around. They just need the top guy to lead them there.
Ladies and gentlemen, comments, questions, super chats. Peter wants to know, Jake, do you have a guest this week that will present for us how to tackle? Nick, can you lead a tackling presentation for the Asmaniacs, similar to what Jeff Ulbrich did yesterday?
So it's quite amazing. And I do want to preface that this is not the first time this has happened in NFL history. This actually has happened many times where teams that are struggling in the middle of the season, they sort of reinvest in tackling, reinvest in going in full pads for an entire week of practice. I remember in 2018, Philadelphia was 5-7. Doug Peterson went to a fully padded practice the rest of the way, and they ended up winning their last 4. They got to the playoffs and actually won a playoff game. So it can work. It's been done. My question would be, this tackling problem has been here with New York for years now. Even under Robert Saleh, the tackling was an issue. Why are we doing this in week 11 at 3-7 as opposed to earlier in the season when this was clearly still a problem? That, to me, is very frustrating for fans, and it's very frustrating overall as an analyst to look and say, listen, your problem is tackling on defense. If you wrapped up, a lot of these big plays you've given up probably don't happen. So, yes, it's nice that they're doing this. It's nice that they're going back into tackling, but too little, too late, man. You're 3-7. Why didn't you do this in the early stages of your losing streak?
Unreal. I mean, only the Jets.
I saw a comment here, and I agree with it. The NFL has a tackling problem. The Jets are not the only team that struggles to tackle. The problem is, if you're going to be an elite defense like the Jets want to call themselves, you cannot have a tackling problem. And that's where they are. They have such a poor time wrapping up and bringing players down to the ground. It really is embarrassing for a defense like this with so many all-pros. And again, I look back and say, well, where's the coaching on this? Why are you waiting so long to go back into full pads? If this has been a problem for 4 years, which it has, it objectively has, why are you not taking the steps necessary to change that?
Dylan writes in, Gruden is my number one option, if possible, and draft a quarterback. Not a John Gruden guy, Nick?
No, I'm not a John Gruden guy. The guy, okay, he had a great start to his career in Oakland, had that one championship year in Tampa Bay. What did he do after that Super Bowl?
He made the playoffs several times.
He made the playoffs twice and won one playoff game. And then went back to the Raiders, and he did nothing. This team, that Gruden is gone. He's done. The NFL probably won't want him back. I would be shocked if the NFL allowed him to come back. That's not happening. That to me would be as ridiculous as Rex Ryan coming back to the team. And I guess people are pushing for it, but man, that would just be an awful, awful look.
I'll tell you what, depending on who Rex would want on his staff, I'm more open to Rex than you are.
Oh God, I can't. I just listen. He had such a great start, but at some point you got to figure out a lot of these positions that Rex Ryan wasn't able to. And he is a good defensive mind. He's a strong defensive minded guy, but you can't just ignore the final circus that was the last few years in both New York and Buffalo. I just think it would be a disaster.
Somebody say circus? Anyway, John Gruden signed the deal today with Barstool Sports. My understanding of that contract is it doesn't prohibit him if he gets an NFL job from leaving. So anyone who's like, oh, that crosses Gruden off the board, not necessarily at all.
Just cross Gruden off, man. There are some jobs, if there are some coaches that if the Jets were to hire them, I think that the NFL analysts of the world would just laugh. Typical Jets. I think Rex is on there. Gruden is on there. Throw Matt Nagy in there. I saw Matt Nagy's name coming up. I mean, there's just so many names that you can look at and say, oh, the Jets could do this because they're the Jets. They can't. You can't do it with some of these guys. If they tried it, it didn't work, move on.
But John Gruden loves Fireman Ed.
It's Jets, Jets. I love Fireman Ed, too.
I feel like we need that guy, Nick.
Oh, God. Everyone fans want the spark, and they want the loud guy that's going to get in players' faces. And when that doesn't work, what happens? What happens?
We're just going to jet chain away.
It's Jets. I love Fireman Ed, too.
Yeah, come on. The offensive guy, Super Bowl winner. Rodgers for a year, draft the quarterback that can learn the spider too wide banana.
His offense is extremely outdated. He runs the standard West Coast offense. That's exactly what Nathaniel Hackett did. That doesn't work anymore.
Hey, he's going to modernize it. He's got a plan in place.
He's gonna modernize it?
Yeah. Have you seen the guy's whiteboard behind him? Look at the info here.
It's Jets. I love Fireman Ed, too.
That just screams, I know football, Nick Faria.
I'm not debating his football knowledge. All I'm saying is, listen, when the time comes, it's time to go. And he wasn't very good in his second stint with the Raiders.
We'll never know how it was going to end, though. They were 3-2, and he was fired.
Well, for good reason. For good reason. So yeah, I mean, do you want to bring that circus back? I mean, that's a completely different one than Rex Ryan.
Here's a good point from Nate. NFL analysts laughed at Dan Campbell. They did. That is true.
Listen, it's not so much about getting the hot guy, the top guy on the list. Dan Campbell, Nick Sirianni. I mentioned Doug Peterson before. These guys were laughed out the door. His introductory press conference, Nick Sirianni's, was one of the worst in NFL history. And the guy doesn't have a losing season, and he's won 7 of his first 9 games, again, for the 3rd straight year. It's incredible the consistency that the Eagles are building right now moving forward. And again, they could lose tonight, but they're still in contention for a playoff spot. So it's not so much about getting the top guy. It's about getting the right guy for your team. And that's why I look at some of these young offensive-minded coaches, and I say this is what you need to develop a quarterback and develop an offensive system and a culture that you need that will produce wins.
Michael Levinson with the super chat. Thank you, Michael. What about Jordan Travis? I hear he has talent to be a good quarterback. How does Jordan Travis figure in the Jets' future at quarterback?
Well, I think, unfortunately, it's going to be very difficult for him because this new coaching staff is probably going to want their guy coming in where they can develop and sort of mold into a ball of clay like many others have done before. So Travis is going to have to get back to 100%. I think there's a good chance he competes for a roster spot next season. If he's not fully healthy, if he's not, improving overall from his college days, I think there's a chance that he gets cut outright and goes to a different team.
Neil with a $10 super chat. Thank you, Mr. Neil. Let's take a pause. This team with a few breaks and Greg the Leg not choking. We're 5-5 or 6-4. Let's pump the brakes and see what plays out. God, this coach talk with 7 games left is pathetic.
What have we seen? This is my response. What have we seen from the Jets and their coaching staff this year that proves that they can go on a run? Like, it's the same problems every week. They can't tackle. The offense is moving up and down the field, but can't score in the red zone. It really is unfortunate that we're talking about this. No one wants to talk about what the next coach is going to look like, but that's the reality of the situation. The players haven't played well enough, and the coaches haven't done their job well enough.
Mad genius. Rodgers needs to retire. He's done.
If he wants to come back, are you really going to tell him no? Are we really going to tell Aaron Rodgers no? There's no better option right now in both the draft and free agency to do that.
I'm all about drafting a quarterback regardless what Aaron does. But to me, you look at the other options out there. The guy's cap hits $23 million next year. Like, if he wants to play and be the bridge quarterback, I don't think it's the worst idea in the world, because you can't tell me the team is not better right now with even this stage of what Aaron Rodgers still is with better coaching right now. It's impossible for this team to be coached any worse next year. They're the worst coach team in the NFL right now.
It's certainly up there. And I kind of pushed back on that at the beginning of the season. They looked better. Everything just looked better overall early on. But then they lost to the Denver Broncos, and then they lost to Minnesota, and the tidal wave happened again for another season. They can't tackle. That's been a problem for 4 years. They're undisciplined. That's been a problem for 4 years. Their offense can't score points. That's been a problem for 14 years. How many times are we going to sit here and say that it's the players, it's the players? Sometimes it has to do with coaching as well. Coaching in the NFL is far more impactful than any other head coaching spot around the core 4 sports in America. And you get a new coach here and you can change a lot of different things. And the expectation is he would be able to change a lot of different things. Top of the list is getting this offense to look like a functioning group for the first time in decades. And right now you don't have that.
James writes in, how much do you get paid to talk over and over about this bleep? $1 million per episode, James. $1 million. It's a great gig. Cactus.
If you want to share some of that, Jesus Christ.
Cactus Johnny says Aaron won't allow you to take a quarterback round 1 if he's on the roster. Objectively speaking, just not true. Not true at all, because
that happened.
It already happened when he was coming off a 13-3 season in Green Bay. They drafted Jordan Love. And this is completely different than that situation. That team was in win now mode, 13-3, championship game appearance. And you can understand why Rodgers was like, what the hell, man? Like, we're this close to going to the Super Bowl. How are we drafting a quarterback? And oh, by the way, it worked, because then he won back-to-back MVP awards. So good job by Green Bay there. But from a Jets standpoint, he said before the year started, hey, if we don't win, everyone's gone. So if he wants to play next year with a new regime, he can't be like, well, no, I mean, we're trying to win. No, you're going out there and you're essentially the bridge quarterback now. And if you play great, awesome. Like, you could help the team win with a new regime, but you're not going to be able to justify not taking a quarterback in the first round because, oh, Aaron's going to be annoyed. No, like, if he's annoyed, then all right, you won't be here. You know, like, you're going to be very transparent with a new regime. Hey, you're the quarterback, but we are looking into drafting someone behind you. You're going to be 42 at the end of next season.
Well, I think the other piece to it is when they drafted Love, he was 37, 38. He felt that he still had a lot of great years left in him. Now he's 42. And we can talk about, oh, that's not a huge age difference, but in the NFL it is. He's coming down to his last year or two in this league. So there's a very clear argument to be made that he will be more understanding now than he was when Green Bay drafted Jordan Love. And again, the Jets should not worry about if Aaron Rodgers is going to be pissed or not. If he was going to be pissed, then the team should have been able to win this year more than anything else. They didn't, and now they have to do what's best for the organization. And yes, that means taking a quarterback in round 1.
Needs to be done. And also, the Jets never let a quarterback they take in the first round actually sit. The one time they've done it over the last 25 years was Pennington, and that worked. So it would be nice to have a guy sit behind a Hall of Famer for a year before you have to put him out there. And oh, by the way, if the Jets aren't good next year, if like Rodgers can't do it, then you know what? when you're out of it, then that rookie gets a chance to play down the stretch and get ready for the next year. And that's exactly what happened with Joe Flacco and Lamar Jackson. If you recall, they made the quarterback change late. Lamar wasn't great, but he got experience. He hit the ground running in his second year. Mahomes started a game that didn't mean anything the last game of the regular season. His rookie year, played great, helped him going into the following year. Like, that to me is not a bad plan given the other options at the quarterback spot with Rodgers under contract anyway, and his cap hit is $23 million next year, which would be middle of the pack. It's incredibly manageable.
It's the best way to develop a young signal caller, and the Jets haven't been able to do that in decades. If you want to be seen as a well-respected organization, getting the quarterback right, putting him in the right system, the right way to nurture him going forward is the best way to do that. You have to sit him. You have to draft a guy this year, and you need to sit him, allow him to develop. It's not just Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes either. Tom Brady did not play his rookie season, guys. He sat the entire first year, and he was going to sit the entire second year before Drew Bledsoe got hurt. Jalen Hurts did not play, did not actually start a game until week 11, week 12. There are examples where if you sit a quarterback early, you can allow yourself to develop them at a high rate and be really, really successful. That's what the Jets need to do.
If you're watching live right now, we're talking with Jets beat reporter Nick Faria. Hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. If you haven't already, we hit over 40,000 subscribers. We're now at 40,100. So I want to thank all the Asmaniacs for your continuous support of the show. We'll open up the Gus Buster hotline, do a couple calls with Nick before we say goodbye. GusBuster.com, baby. Use the promo code you'll see on the screen right now.
If you go to GusBuster.com, you could purchase the best umbrella in the universe. And you could use the promo code Jake, so you'll get 15% off on any of your umbrellas.
Promo code Jake, GusBuster.com. First up is Doug on the bed today. Hello, Douglas.
I'm never going to go into a Jet season with expectations again because, like, why would you? Like, after experiencing this crap, why would you? That's the only way we're going to be enjoying it. I think the last enjoyable season was 2022 because we didn't have the expectations. They got off to the hot start, and then it all crumbled and fell. Last year, we had the expectations. Boom. Rodgers destroys his leg, 4 snaps into the year. This year, like, oh, man, he's healthy. We got the team. We got all these good vets. This is the team. And we're the laughing stock of the league probably this year. So it's just like, why at this point should we give this team any expectations ever? And for the coach, I know we don't want to talk about coach. I'm Vrabel or Munkin. I want the veteran guy. I want a guy who can lead. Vrabel's my top choice. That would be my 1A choice. But I want Vrabel or Munkin. I want an older guy who's experienced. I know Vrabel's not offense, but I would prefer offense. That's why Munkin would be my second choice. But yeah, I'm never giving this team expectations again. It's the main thing.
Hard to disagree. I mean, what have they done to provide any sort of positivity at this point? They haven't had a winning season in 7 years or 8 years now. Jesus.
I was at that Patriots game like you were. That was the day that broke me. That just broke me.
Oh, that was a disaster.
That broke me. There was no way they should have, like, watching that game the entire time, how they ended up losing, it just broke me.
Ugly.
Tom writes in, get on the couch, Doug. Take back what's yours.
The Jets don't deserve me to sit on the couch. That's how bad they've been. They've been a joke. They don't deserve my best of me. F the Jets right now. I love them, but F them. They've just destroyed me.
Ladies and gentlemen, Doug on the bed. More of your calls right now. The Hamburger is up next. Hello, Hamburger.
Hey, what's up, boys? What's up, Nick? What's up, Jake?
Hamburger, how we doing?
Doing good. You hear me?
Oh, we hear you.
All right, good. Listen, it's awesome to talk about all this now, but we have no idea where this team's going to end up at the end of the year right now either. We have no idea what's going on. Coaching, GM situation. We could end up with Joe Douglas back at the end of the year for all we know, if this team ends up putting together a run. So it's fun to talk about. And Nick, I disagree with the Gruden situation. Not that I disagree that I want him here. I disagree that the NFL is looking to get out of that because of the lawsuit, and it is a messy situation. And I think they'd rather have him back in the NFL coaching a team than have to deal with the lawsuit at this point. I just think that's a real good possibility. And I think Woody at this point would jump at maybe even a Rex Ryan or a Gruden as a one-year fix or something like that to run the rest of this roster out and for Aaron Rodgers to be on the team. And yeah, draft a quarterback. But I just think those two are kind of like a real easy avenue to get to for this organization right now. What do you think?
Well, it's an easy avenue. It would also bring in a circus. And you don't want a circus. You want to build a football team.
I know, but all we do is bring in circuses, and it's 1 year circus. I have no.
But again,
I mean,
the other part to this that I think we forget. Okay, you want to bring him in for 1 year. Then why are you drafting a quarterback? You're going to have him be in one system 1 year and be in a completely different system the other year. Look at what the Patriots are doing with Drake May. You have the Crafts looking for offensive-minded coaches that are going to want to come in and work with him. That is not a proper way to develop a young quarterback like this. You need a guy that can come in with a system and say, this is what you're going to run for the next 10 years. That's why you have an offensive-minded head coach and say, okay, this is my system. This is what we're going to run. It's these concepts over everything else. That's how you develop young quarterbacks.
I agree with you 100%. I agree. But this organization has done nothing to show me that they're going to go in that direction in
Completely
the past.
different story. Whoa.
Yeah.
Completely different story if that's
what I'm saying. I want to talk in reality, not in fantasy, because all our fantasies is for us to draft, to get the proper GM, to get the proper coach. That's all our fantasies. But we don't ever do that. We do the easy way, the quick fix. You know, I don't think Woody wants to get rid of Aaron at any point. Like, I think he's going to try to put a Band-Aid on whatever he can to try to save face and possibly get a good year out of next year. That's just, I don't know. That's how I feel on the way Woody's going to do this. Not that I'm right, not that any of us are right and are going to be right in some of our takes, but you know, it's just the way this organization is. It's nuts.
How about Doug
it's crazy.
Peterson for you guys? Everyone want Doug Peterson as your head coach? That's intriguing.
I don't like hiring a guy for a third time. That's not.
Hold on. Yeah. Wait a minute. Whoa, wait a minute here. Wait a minute. You don't want to hire a guy for a third time. Then what's Rex Ryan?
Yeah, well, but Rex, I feel differently because of his connection to the Jet organization. And, like, he went to Buffalo. He was there for 2 years. Like, I don't know, Dougie P, like, it didn't end well in Philly. He goes to Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence has seemingly regressed when he's supposed to be an offensive guy. I don't know. There's some red flags there with Doug Peterson.
Offense, baby. That Press Taylor offense is going to change lives.
I don't want Rex. I don't want.
Me neither. They're not the top of my choices. That's the difference.
Gotcha.
Vrabel's probably my top choice.
Me too.
Vrabel's probably my top choice.
Or Stefanski if the Browns fire him.
Yeah, I like that choice too. But I
will say this. I'll say this. If the Browns fire Stefanski, the Jets should do everything in their power to get him here. 100%. Probably number 2 on that list, I would say, is Monken. I don't want any defensive-minded guy as my head coach. There are defensive-minded head coaches that are successful, but by and large, if you want to develop quarterbacks and win at a high level and a high clip, you need the offensive-minded coach.
Yeah, listen, I do want an offensive-minded coach. I'm not 100% opposed to a defensive-minded coach as long as he's the proper coach and we get the right offensive coordinator that can run the offense properly. I'm not 100% opposed to a defensive guy. It's got to be the right guy. I mean, defensive coaches win games too, win championships too. So it's just about getting that guy.
Like 3 decades. It's all you've hired.
I know it has changed a lot. It has. Listen, I've been watching since like 1984. So, you know, my view is from all the way back. So it's a big mixed bag of crap in my head.
It's like that's all you've done. Rex, Herman Edwards, Mancini. You have all these guys with defensive backgrounds, and okay, great, yay, everything's good. Oh wait, we need to develop an offense, and that's why our offense hasn't been good. Like, let's get the easy solution here, guys. If you want a better offense, then hire an offensive coach.
Yeah, our offense has been kind of Stone Ages for a long time. And
you could hire. You got to find Kyle Shanahan before there was Kyle Shanahan, and there's probably one guy that could do that.
And Jet fans are clueless. I mean, they're dopes. They don't know anything. This is a really good hire. Gase is a great coach. Okay, Adam Gase is Kyle Shanahan before Kyle Shanahan. Gase is a great coach.
Maybe we bring back Gase.
My eyeballs out. Oh, I can't. Well, listen, gentlemen, you guys have a great day. Get to some other callers. Appreciate you having me on.
Hamburger, thank you. Nick, your thoughts on Adam Gase as an option for the Jets?
Adam Gase, baby. Run it back.
Amen.
Good Lord.
Amen. Nick, great stuff, man. Thanks for hopping on this morning.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Faria. In his weekly spot, read his work, Athlon Sports. Super chats coming through the pipeline here. Citybird says, Dan Campbell and Robert Saleh are the same coach based on Hard Knocks. Yes, he played. Robert Saleh, no. But the big difference is he got lucky with great OC and DC hires. Can we say he got lucky or he hired the right people? He deserves credit for that. Aaron Glenn's going to interview for jobs this year as a head coach. Ben Johnson turned down head coaching opportunities last year. He could have been the commies coach. He said no. I think Dan Campbell is what we thought Saleh would be, but Campbell's better, clearly. Citybird, Rabel means every win is 17-13. You know what? It'd be nice to win games. So sign me up for that. And by the way, that's really not true. Mike Rabel's offenses in Tennessee were really solid with Tannehill as the quarterback. He won at least 9 games in his first 4 years. He made the playoffs in 3 of them. He made the AFC Championship game in his second year. He was 54-45 as the head coach in Tennessee in 6 years. Their offense was 15th in offensive EPA and 17th in defensive EPA. Guy was a good coach. I would take Mike Vrabel in a second. I want someone who's done it before. I'm tired of the, well, is he going to be a good coach, and the guessing game, the unknown. Give me someone that's done it. That's won at a high level already. C writes in, draft a QB to sit 1 year behind Rodgers, build around the pieces, Garrett Wilson, etc. No need to turn and burn it down. Definitely an attractive job for a head coach. Yeah, I think you could sell to a prospective coach. You have Rodgers for a year as the bridge. We're drafting a quarterback. That guy doesn't have to play right away. So you get a chance to try and win in year 1. And then, you have job security. You're going to get a chance to oversee a young quarterback stepping in. And let's not act like it takes forever to rebuild, man. I mean, Sean McVay took over the Rams. They won 4 games the previous year. They won 11 his first year. The Commanders, I think, are going to win the NFC East. Last year, they were picking 2nd overall. 2 years ago, the Texans were picking 2nd overall. Last year, they won their division and won a playoff game. This year, they're going to win their division as well. I mean, the list goes on and on. Might get, next year's a washed year no matter what. Come on. Trey says, why are we acting like we didn't draft Jordan Travis? Because he's a 5th-round pick coming off a catastrophic injury. We don't know what he is, Trey. What do you think, Jordan Travis is going to be great? I don't know what he is. I'm still drafting a quarterback. Maybe the Jets draft a quarterback and Jordan Travis is Brock Purdy, right? They took Brock Purdy the year they also took Trey Lance. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and do the doom and gloom thing. Like, you can turn it around with the right people. Justin Sports, we don't need to waste draft equity on a quarterback. No way we're serious. Okay, so what's your plan at quarterback then, Justin Sports? Don't want to waste draft equity. Look at the best teams in the AFC. Tell me how they acquired their quarterbacks. Mahomes, 1st-round pick. Allen, 1st-round pick. Lamar, 1st-round pick. Burrow, 1st-round pick. Stroud, 1st-round pick. Denver, 1st-round pick. Look at the playoff teams right now. If you don't plan on taking a quarterback in the 1st round, you're likely never finding your long-term option at quarterback. You're not. Take the quarterback. Don't play him right away. Let him sit behind a veteran. Neil writes in, love Chucky as the head coach. Neil wants John Gruden, baby.
It's Jets, Jets. I love Fireman Ed, too.
Hell yeah. I mean, drafting a quarterback is a dart throw. You got to try until you get it right. That's unfortunately where we're at. Cactus Johnny says, I hear Joe Willie can sling it. Bring him in. Hamburger, you keep trying until you hit. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the bottom line. Now, they say it's not a great quarterback draft, but haven't we heard that before? And then it ends up being a great quarterback draft? You never know. You go through the process. If you're not in love with any of these guys, you have Rodgers for one more year and you have Jordan Travis. And if you're out of it next year, you let Travis play and then you draft the quarterback the following year. I don't know. We'll see. I would take a quarterback this year, though, assuming there's someone they like. The Hamburger writes in, how do you think I found my wife? See? You just keep shooting shots. One's got to go on eventually. The Hamburger is a living example of this.
Hey, congrats on the sack.
See, Hamburger, you did it. Open phone lines for anyone who wants in on the conversation. Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. Reminder to join the Patreon if you haven't already. Patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. Huge shout out to Phil Hannon, Joseph, Jeffrey, Dan, Debbie, and Kevin for being our most recent Patreon subscribers. Get in the Discord. If anyone is willing to donate tickets for Jets Colts, we'll distribute them to Jet fans who could hopefully go to the game. You'll first find out about the free tickets I'll give away in the Discord. So make sure you're on the Patreon, get in the Discord, all that and more. Trey says, as long as we don't draft Shador, I'm fine with drafting a QB, but I still feel good about Jordan Travis. Shador might be the top quarterback in the class. Why wouldn't you want him? I wouldn't want Dion as the head coach, but the idea that Shador wouldn't be a top option, he might be the first pick in the draft. Bang says, I don't care who comes back. It won't work in 2025. Let's not get sucked back in. I love people saying no matter what happens, it's not going to work in 2025. Why are you watching a show on November 14th as the Jets are 3-7? Do you like being miserable, Bang? No matter what the Jets do, no matter what in 2025, there's no way there could be a positive outcome. Do you just like being miserable? Do you like to bathe in your own filth? I love these people. Hey, there's nothing they can do that can make it work. Why are you watching a show in 2024 about the Jets? You just like to be here to be miserable? Like, okay, have fun. Hamburger says, hit the like button. Amen. Justin Sports says, we have terrible quarterback drafting in recent memory. It's mind-boggling to me we ignore this. It's going to be a new regime making the decision, Justin Sports. You know how stupid that logic is? So the Bills should not have drafted Josh Allen because they drafted J.P. Lossman in the first round, or they used the first-round pick on E.J. Manuel. You know how stupid this comment is? I mean, come on now. Here's another guy, Justin Sports, who bathes in his own filth.
You need many years of therapy, and I bullshit you not.
I mean, give me a break. Keep on swimming in your filth. Sanders, for sure, number one pick. Feels like it. It feels like him and Cam Ward have emerged, at least early on in the process, as the top two quarterbacks. But remember, J.J. McCarthy at this time a year ago was not a first-round pick. He ended up going in the top 10. Happens all the time. Once these guys get to the offseason, once these guys get to the combine, and teams get to really evaluate them, things change. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Rick Kent is coming through for the people. First person to get the membership today. A 5-spot of channel memberships from the incomparable Rick Kent.
Show me the money. Show me the money!
Money, money, money.
Damn.
If you hear your name called, you thank Rick Ken. Hit the Rick Ken emoji if you're a channel member. Mike, Shad Johnson, Modelis VJ4, Fight Boys 2.0, Matthew Sereno. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Addison called it Kemperships. Well done, sir. John says, as Dory says, just keep swimming. Yeah, the idea the Jets can't try and draft a quarterback because they haven't hit on one is stupid. Once upon a time, they hit on Chad Pennington. Remember that? Once upon a time, they hit on Ken O'Brien. He wasn't Marino, but he was still a good quarterback. You had to draft a quarterback in the first round. It's the most important position in sports. And maybe the approach to how you develop them is different this time around. That guy sits for a year behind a Hall of Famer. Not a bad setup. Alan writes in, can't wait for 50 memberships this afternoon, comma, Cigar Boy. Ladies and gentlemen, Alan continuing to go at Neil for a bet that was made on the show after the Jets win over the Texans. Let's review the tape.
If the Jets win by more than a touchdown, I have to give 20 memberships. If the Jets lose by more than 20 by a touchdown, you have to give the memberships.
Oh, that's a deal. I'll bump it to I'll take my 20 against your 10. I'll give 20 memberships if we lose by a touchdown or more. Because if we do, Jake will really need the money badly. I said, if we lose by more than a touchdown, if we win by more, you're giving 10 memberships. If they lose,
no, I'm giving 20. I said I'll give 20.
Sorry.
I'm good.
Fine. If they lose by more than a touchdown, I'll give 50 memberships because Jake's going to need the money.
Wow, deal coming through.
His viewership is going to go in the toilet 2 weeks after the first loss we have. So we don't want this to end.
Incredible. God, I love this show. Ladies and gentlemen, is it raining more memberships? It feels like it is. Addison, dropping a 5 spot. Yeah. Here we go. If you hear your name called, you're a channel member. James Rouse, Steve, USMC, 3/6. Great to meet Steve a few months ago. The Talking Jets meetup. Michael Tepes, Josh McMinn, Joey R, and JS all receiving a membership. One of those memberships, though, was actually gifted by the great Chris J. Chris, thank you for the support, my man. Appreciate you. Super chats. They're flying in the chat this morning. Appreciate everyone for supporting the channel. Mr. Reality, Jake Shadur's a circus and would be a mess in New York. I'm not saying they should draft him necessarily. I don't think the Jets are going to be picking high enough to get him. I'm just telling you he might be the top quarterback. Chris J with another membership gift. This time, how about it, a 5 spot?
It's Jets, Jets. I love Fireman Ed too.
Here we go, baby. 5 memberships being gifted from Chris J. Josh B. The Prez, Mario Ranieri, Ernesto Rivera, FYFO8490 PMG. Sco writes in, was that 2025 schedule real for the Jets? Well, you already know who the teams you're going to play are, for the most part. You play your division teams and then whatever the order is in the rotation of divisional opponents outside of your own division. You don't know the order you play them in. And, like, obviously the Jets will play an AFC South team. That's going to depend on where they finish in the AFC East. If the Jets finish third in the AFC East, they'll play the third place team in the AFC South next year, for example. Ladies and gentlemen, a big welcome back to a member of the 4%. Aurora is in the house. Leany has gifted 1 channel membership. Speaking of the 4%, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to Leany for this moment.
Is this Mike D's nuts?
No, it's Leany gifting 1 channel membership. Matthew Savage receiving a membership. Hell yeah. Super chat from 25. Still trying to get Gruden on the show. I am. Yes, we are working on that. I've been trying for weeks. The timing has not worked. The hurricane screwed things up. I went to London, which screwed things up. But I am doing everything to get Gruden on the show. Would love that. We'll ask him point blank about the Jet job. Aurora with a great first comment. Hello, everyone besides Alan. Yes. Yes. Horton, when will this franchise grow or repair and stand up to Rodgers? Let me simply ask this. What do you want the Jets to do right now? They're 3-7. The team is the team. They already fired the coach. They changed coordinators. Aaron's the quarterback for at least the next 7 games. If he's here next year, they're still drafting a quarterback behind him. There'll be a new coach and GM. It's a new regime. Tom says Gruden just signed with Barr. Still going to be a tough get now, you'd think. No, we'll still be. Are you talking about him being a head coach? Because he has a clause in that contract where if he's offered an NFL coaching job, he can get out of it. It's the same deal Doc Rivers had with ESPN when he left the NBA Finals booth to be a head coach in the middle of his first year with ESPN. Jay, do you think Shedeur pulls an Eli on draft night pending the team? I could see it, right? I mean, I know Dion has said that he's not going to let his son go somewhere he doesn't think he'll be successful. Honestly, can you blame Dion for that? If he's got the power to swing it around, why wouldn't you? Eli did it. Tom meant to be on the show. I still think we can get him, Tom. I'm still confident we'll get him. Sco says Tom Ace should be our next coach. I'm on board. Sign me up for that one. Matthew says if the Jets hire Mike Vrabel and part with Rodgers, and they also have to part ways with Hackett. Vrabel, a defensive guy, will have no offensive success with Hackett running the show. I mean, Hackett's not going to have a job in the NFL after this year. Mike Vrabel is not keeping Nate Hackett on the staff. He might keep Downing around in a role because he worked with Downing in Tennessee. Let's see. D says, man, any father would do that for their son if they could. If you say you wouldn't, you're lying. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Dion tries to orchestrate his team to go to the right place. Mr. Reality says, have you seen Gruden's draft track record? Well, he wouldn't be the GM, he'd be the coach, because I wouldn't want him to be the GM. That'd be my concern. Alan going up and in on Aurora. I met Aurora and was nice to her, and her miserable boyfriend forced to watch this bleep show week after week. Damn, Alan. Damn. Unreal. Ladies and gentlemen, a comment here from Coops. That clown thing is destroying my ears. What clown thing? Boomtown writes in, Jake, if I apply for the GM job for the Jets, can I use you as a reference? I'd like to highlight the Asmaniacs All-22 team I put together as a qualification. Absolutely. Please drop my name. Tom writes in, ouch, what did her boyfriend do to Alan? That's a great question. For the record, I met Aurora's boyfriend, and he seemed like a nice gentleman. Zach writes in, is there any way we could have open tryouts for the Jets, get a Disney Invincible movie type of story going? Would love to see an Asmaniac on the team. It would certainly make it more entertaining here down the stretch. The Hamburger writes in, hire Lane Train for coach. He will make sure Bruce Hall gets the ball.
Bruce Hall.
Not bad. Mr. Reality writes in, Jake Asman, put some thought into these coaching names. Don't be a fan and cheerleader for once, guy. Couple things here, Mr. Rowdy. One, go fuck yourself. I have no patience for your nonsense. And two, I think you could learn to take a joke if we say, hey, the lane train for head coach. We might not be serious. Just a thought, though. Goodbye. Now look what you've done. No more protection from the Asmaniacs. Had to pull you out of the chat and cast you down with the Sodomites. Some time in here will feel like you've been run over by the lane train. You understand me? You catch my drift? Give them another 24 hours to think about it. Been that type of year as a Jet fan. I just don't have the patience. Goodbye, reality. Bum. My number one candidate, as I continue to say, is Mike Vrabel. Number 2 is Kevin Stefanski if Cleveland fires him. Number 3, I'm just talking about realistic names. I don't think Ben Johnson's realistic. I would try and hire him if I could as the top offensive guy. But for me, it's Stefanski. It's Vrabel. Flores. I'd interview Cliff. He's been a head coach before. I'm sure he's learned from his first stint. That's where I'm starting. I want someone with experience. Monken is on my list. I know he's never been a head coach before, but he's an offensive guy. He's an older offensive guy, too. He's won everywhere he's been. That's what I would look at. PZ writes in, Jets is ruining Rodgers' legacy. I don't think this impacts Rodgers' legacy at all. It's like Johnny Unitas at the end of his career, Joe Namath at the end of his career. Come on. Nate says, Jake leaving me backstage on a bike for 4 miles. Call back in, Nate. We'll get to you. Dante writes in, do you have a favorite offensive coordinator you'd like on the staff? If the Giants do fire Dable, I would love to have a Mike Vrabel, Brian Dable-led coaching staff. Big fella. Sucks Gruden signed with Barstool on the Monken. He has a clause in his contract with Barstool that means he could be an NFL head coach or any coach if he wants. Him going to Barstool doesn't prohibit him from being a coach in the NFL next year.
It's Jets, 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 Jets. I love Fireman Ed, too.
In fact, he's going to Barstool to basically get his name out there. Give him more media exposure. Like how Belichick's on everything to try and get back in the good graces of NFL owners. Same thing with Gruden. Rick Kent says, Monken is my number 1 offensive guy. Worked in a bunch of different systems with a bunch of different quarterbacks. I'd be interested in him for sure. Ryan says, is there a Gusbuster promo code? There is. It's in the description for the video. Check it out. Or use promo code Jake at checkout. There you go. Rick says, Monken should have been hired as head coach instead of Gase. Agreed. PG says, Rodgers leave the Jets. This is a poverty franchise. PZ, why are you watching this show? Go bathe in your own filth.
F you. F you. F you too.
We'll see you later. Sco, what about the Lions DC? The Lions DC's Aaron Glenn, former Jet, was an outstanding Jet. I like Aaron Glenn. In a different scenario, I think he'd be one of my top candidates. I just don't think you could hire another first-time head coach with a defensive background. We've done this how many times, man? Herm, Mangini, Rex, Bowles, Saleh. Hire an offensive first-time coach if you're going to do that, or someone with experience if you're going to hire a defensive background. Alan writes in, Neil should give his 4 premium seats to an Asmaniac for a 17-0 prediction. Alan continued just to knife Neil. Dante with a $10 super chat. Thank you, Dante. Appreciate you. You do good work, man. To be a Jet fan's tough. To be a content creator is tough. To be both and watch this misery and report on it. You do really good work. Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, we got the best listeners, though. They make it possible. And your super chats certainly make it possible. Lifeline of the show. One day, you would think it will be all worth it if this team is ever good. That was supposed to be this year. One day, I will think it will be all worth it. Ladies and gentlemen, we say hello live from the streets of New York City to Nate, parentheses Nate. Hello, Nate.
What's up, Jake? How are you?
How's the weather today?
It's cold as shit. And it's windy as shit. My hands got too cold, so I strapped you in on the front of the city bike.
Nice.
I thought Hamburger was absolutely correct. We absolutely don't know anything. Like anything could be on the table next year. Fucking Trump could be the head coach. Like Joe Douglas could still be here. Like and if I keep thinking like I was expecting Rex to be like poo-poo. The more I think about it, if Woody has anything to do with the hiring, it's gonna be Rex. Like I was talking to Bonesy, and I'm sure I'm gonna get mocked in the chat. If they hired Rex tomorrow, I'd fucking renew my season tickets to watch Rex Ryan and relive my like high school glory days, even though we'd probably be garbage. So I think if Woody has anything to do with this, it's gonna be Rex. It's gonna be Rodgers. And as much as Nick Faria is gonna make fun of it, he's gonna absolutely love covering that shit show. So I don't know. Anything's on the table. I think we have just as good a chance to lose 7 games as to win 7 games in a row. As a Jets fan, I just don't know anymore. You said I think we should take a quarterback. I don't want to disagree with the guy you put into the shadow realm, but I definitely don't love Shador. I think Shador Sanders is like Sauce Gardner in quarterback form. Like I think he's soft as shit. I think he's obsessed with social media. I don't want to see Shador. Obviously, we need to get like the right quarterback, but I don't. Again, I don't think they're drafting a quarterback.
It's a moot point. He's going to go in the top 3, and the Jets won't be picking there.
Yeah, you're probably right. Although I could see him slipping with all his social media and his dad or whatever the hell going on. I want to stay away from that. I was just going to say I think if you're acting Phil Flores guy, I totally disagree with Nick about Rex, but I do agree about John Gruden. I don't want John Gruden here. The OC, what he was saying about the OC, we need to get any OC that we can. We're not worried about if he's going to leave in 3 years. If he leaves in 3 years because he's the next Ben Johnson, great. That means we did a great job with the hire. So,
you worry about that then. Remember, LaFleur was going to leave too when they hired him. He was going to do wonders with Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
It's like, come on now.
Exactly. Yeah, we had a quarterback whisperer, the next great LaFleur. No, it is what it is. I'll still be there Sunday. I'm looking forward to the tailgate. That's pretty much it. And then I'll have to endure the misery. But I'm like a lot of Jets fans. If we win Sunday, I'm gonna be like, all right, we still don't have 8 losses. I'm gonna be locked in, even though I know we can't win games. I see it on the field and we can't win games, but then I look at the standings and I want to go play with the playoff simulator. So, like Jake says, it's an addiction, it's a disease. We've all got it. It's the reason why a couple hundred of us are watching your show still. It sucks, man. It absolutely sucks. I could never you couldn't sell this script to Hollywood what we're doing in 2024.
It's brutal, dude. Now I will say this. I credit to you for going with the iced coffee as the temperature, according to my Apple Watch, is 43 degrees right now.
Yeah, it feels like 30 on the bike too. But it's always iced. If it's gonna be hot, it's gonna be a hot tea. That's my diet.
Tremendous.
Gary, iced coffee in the winter, vegetables at night. Live a long life.
I had a salad last night. It hasn't killed me yet. I'm still alive.
Yeah, but it's working its way in your body right now. Have you seen Little Shop of Horrors, where the plant like eats everyone and comes to life? I feel like Gary was tormented as a kid. Have you seen Little Shop of Horrors?
I don't think so.
Yeah, you should watch it. It's a great movie with the guy from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and a plant like takes over this plant shop and starts eating everyone. I think Gary had nightmares as a kid and hasn't eaten a vegetable since.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I had a lot of Caesar salad last night, so I'm just hoping I survived the day.
I do. Hold on, I took a screenshot. I'll share it with you, Jake, and I'll share it with Gary. I think I found Gary's like. He might be really famous on Twitter. There's someone with like hundreds of thousands of followers that's spreading this information everywhere. And it literally, I had the screenshot. It was like, actually it's doing the exact opposite. Vegetables are trying to kill you. You just haven't seen like meat, and people are going back and forth about red meat. So I think Gary has a bigger following. He just keeps it on the DL on your show.
Yeah, Gary definitely has a lot of problems. There's no doubt.
Well, he doesn't have a problem with scouting quarterbacks, and he's the greatest boxing handicapper in the world. So
That's
Two
right.
things he doesn't have to worry about.
Yeah, it's very exciting that his sport is relevant for the first time in a while this Friday.
Yeah, and he's furious about it. I kind of love it.
I love it too.
He just messaged me. Jordy has got him playing hard. Talking about the Nets. Hi, Gary. I guess he's not watching. He does. Jordy Fernandez has the Nets playing good basketball, Jake.
Yeah,
you should tune into a Nets game.
They actually have not been awful so far.
No, they're playing well. They play your Knicks on Friday. You'll see them in the big what is it? NBA Cup, NBA
and Sunday.
Cup.
They play Friday and Sunday, both at MSG. Oddly enough, because I'm on ESPN New York Sunday from 4 to 6:30 till Knicks pregame starts.
I take it you're not giving away tickets to that game like you are the Jets game on Sunday.
I am not. I don't have Knicks tickets. If anyone has Knicks tickets and wants to take me, though, I'd be happy to join you.
Yeah, those tickets are about 100-fold what a Jets ticket is going for right now.
Oh my God, yeah, Knicks tickets are just it doesn't matter the opponent. Tickets for the Knicks at MSG are always.
Jake West just texted me breaking news. Jake, the Jets are going on a run. He said it.
Ladies and gentlemen, breaking news from Jake Quest. The New York Jets are going on a run to the playoffs.
Playoffs?
Thank you for the call, Nate. Stay warm. The playoff run starts Sunday, according to Jake Quest.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
The run starts Sunday, folks. From 3-7 to 10-7. Do you believe?
Breaking sports news on the Jake Asman Show.
The run to glory starts Sunday. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to respect the hustle. So Mr. Reality was already sent to the hole for the day. On his second burner account, Captain Swanson, parentheses, Club Reality. Jake, I hear you planting the delusional seeds already. You know, you got to respect the commitment to trolling by Captain Swanson. Doesn't change anything. You're still going to the hole, but I respect it.
Now look what you've done. No more protection from the Asmaniacs. Had to pull you out of the chat and cast you down with the sodomites. Some time in here will feel like you've been run over by the lane train. You understand me? You catch my drift? Give them another 24 hours to think about it.
What a show it's been, huh? Zach Wilson's watching. I miss you guys. Hey, Zach. How you doing?
Why can't I be quarterback, huh? Hit me, I'm open. Hi. That's why. Now sit down and shut up.
I have some sad news to share. Unfortunately, the schedules have not aligned with Jeff Parle, so we will not be able to get him on the show this week, but he will join us next week. So sorry about no Parles, but the hype will be built for next week with Jeff. So we need a guest this afternoon. I'll come up with something big time for the Asmaniacs. Stay tuned. Tom Ace writes in, playoff run starts Sunday. Butter diet starts Monday. I'll tell you what. Here's what I'll do. Jets go on a run and make the playoffs. I will eat a full butter stick on the air as a tribute to Gary. Super chat from the big fella. Thank you, big fella. Why did we take Peyton Manning's advice on hiring Gase when it's clear he doesn't like the Jets? To me, that made no sense. I mean, they got conned by Peyton Manning's charm. Chris Johnson was apologizing to fans in London in 2021 for hiring Adam Gase. He told people that when they ran their search, Gase checked off all the boxes and what they were looking for in a coach. They got conned. Gase is a good talker behind closed doors. When you have one of the greats of all time telling you the guy's a good coach, it makes sense. It was a bad hire, though. They should have known better, but they didn't. You hope Chris Johnson has learned from that because he will have a say in the head coach this time around. It's going to be Woody's decision, but still. Jay, Jeff gave up on the season. His schedule just didn't work. We'll get him on next week, though. Don't worry. Alan says, if the Jets lose Sunday, Jake should eat a stick of butter on the air. That's silly. If they lose, I think they're going to win Sunday, but I wouldn't be surprised if they lost. I'll eat a stick of butter on the air if they actually go on a run. That'd be warranted then. Rick says, Gase dazzled Chris Johnson with his wild eyes. Perhaps. Ryan says, I believe our offense could pull off wins, but our defense just can't stop anyone. That's our biggest issue. I mean, some games has been the defense. Some games has been the offense. You know what the Jets' biggest issue is? They're not very good. They're poorly coached. That's why they don't win games despite having more talent than a lot of the teams they played during this season. They continue to be favorites in these games because Vegas doesn't take into account how poorly coached the Jets are. That's the only explanation. They shouldn't be a favorite on Sunday. They shouldn't have been a favorite last week against Arizona. And when they've been favorites in some of these games, they should never be a 9-point favorite to anyone, we've learned. Like they were against Denver, or the fact that they were a favorite in Pittsburgh. The fact that they were, imagine that they were a favorite that night in Pittsburgh. Dante writes in, is it copian to think Chris might be a better owner should Woody leave? He ate some humble pie and admitted fault before Woody came back. That's something, right? I could tell you in my interactions with both last summer, Chris was way more personable and like just more impressive in the conversation I had. I mean, Chris has obviously learned from that mistake. He's also younger. I think he's more into it than Woody as far as like in touch. But it doesn't really matter. I mean, you got to hire the right person, man. My question is, what's the Jets' process to hiring the GM and coach? Are they going to bring in a football person to help them make those hires like they've done in the past with the Charlie Casserly, Ron Wolf strategy? Where you go search firm route like they've done in the past with Izek? They're going to hire the GM first and Douglas, and then that guy hire the head coach like they did with Saleh? What's the strategy now? Because you need, in all likelihood, both GM and coach. That's the question we need. Laney writes in, see you Asmaniacs later. I have a dentist appointment. What do you think is more painful, root canal or watching the Jets? I'd probably go with the Jets. Bang Mateo says, let's pivot to draft, war rooms, big boards, picks. I mean, we kind of have been talking about that, Bang. We spent a lot of the show talking about who the next GM and coach are going to be. The legend of Bobby Midnight says, Jake, can I be your guest, please? Marby writes in, Gruden head coach, Vrabel DC. Mike Vrabel's not taking a defensive coordinator job. He's going to be a head coach in the league. He's one of the top candidates. Gruden's more likely to be an OC if he wants back in than Vrabel is to be a DC. What a show this has been, huh? Big fella says, my wife is a periodontist, and she says that watching the Jets is way tougher than pulling teeth. We have our answer, folks. Mrs. Big Fella has provided the info we needed. Incredible. Carpetbagger, should the Jets hire Coach Prime? I mean, there are worse ideas. I don't think Dion would work in New York. Not that he's not a good coach. But you're just bringing so much attention on yourself if that happens. So, I don't know. It's just a lot. I don't think the Jets will make that move either. Let's see. Hamburger, bring in the clowns. Bo with a super chat. Offense, no defense. Defense, no offense. Players, no coaches. Coaches, no players. Peanut butter, no jelly. Ham, no burger. Always something. It ain't easy being green, baby. It ain't easy being green.
You know, thinking is overrated.
So is winning. So is winning. Ryan, do you think Prime will eventually coach in the NFL? Maybe. I don't know if that's Deion's goal. What if he really likes coaching college football? What if he gets a bigger job than Colorado? He's done a really good job this year. They have a chance to be in the playoff. They might win the Big 12. They were a joke before he got there. Deion's done a really good job. I just don't know if it necessarily translates to the NFL. I think it would be too big of a risk for the Jets in particular to take at this stage of where they're at as a franchise. That's the bottom line. But I'll tell you what, I'd rather have Deion than Adam Gase. Or, this year's Adam Gase to the Jets is Matt Nagy if they hire him. No, thank you. Hey, shout out to Blitz BK in the chat for his banger we played on the show yesterday. If you missed it, go back to the beginning or the end of each of the two streams yesterday, and we played the latest track from Blitz BK, which was awesome. All right, I'll be back in the afternoon. It's going to be a lot of fun. It will be magical. We will have a lot to discuss. So stay tuned for that. Before we get out of here, another reminder. Join the Patreon. Get in the Discord. Be a part of our growing community there. We're almost at 500 Patreon members, which is just awesome. It's a testament to how great the Asmaniacs are. Patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. If you want to sign up and be a part of it. Want to thank all the callers. We could not have done it without you. Thanks to Nick Faria, who joined us in his weekly spot on the show. We'll take plenty of calls on the afternoon show. So if you didn't get a chance to get in then, we'll get you on the second show today. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jake Asman. This has been the Jake Asman Show. JETS, 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 Jets. Charles Gorman is up next. Hello, Charles.
Hey, Jake. How's it going?
What's up, Charles? A little rude to be eating on the air, Charles. Charles. What are you eating, Charles? What are we munching on today? Can you hear me? Are you deaf? Charles, you're on the air. Bro, you're on the air. We are doing a national show. Millions are tuned in, Charles. Hello? Hey, Charles, wake up. Charles. Dude. I'm just going to let you chill, all right? Your show now, Charles. Go ahead. Yep. No. I'm Charles Gorman, everybody. No. I'm just eating. I'm just chewing. Yep. Okay. Should we move on or just let Charles on the screen just eat here? Yes, go. You're on the air. Yes. What? Oh my God. Stop eating. Oh my God. What are you doing? Goodbye. I can't.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
We'll see you later, Charles.
Hello, Jake. I just had dinner. I had a couple of servings of chicken soup, my mother's homemade chicken soup.
Hey, Charles, I need some of that chicken soup.
It was delicious.
I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, I know it's delicious. I need some of it.
I love to eat, so what can I say?
Send it this way, Charles.
I was not expecting. I love this show, man. We got the best callers. We really do.